This is Steve. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about character profiles in the story ZLM 151051. Now, the story is made up in multiple parts. Each one of them is written in the first person, and in part 1, the narrator is a young guy called Bobby Calhoun, approximately 30 years old. So, what you're looking at here is Scrivener. Now, originally the story started with a working title of Knock Knock Bang Bang, but it turned into ZLM 151051. So now, as you'll see, it's got different parts: part 1, part 2, part 3, and if you look at part 1, you can see the index cards that I mentioned earlier, and each one of the scenes is laid out. Those are all the scenes for part 1. But let's talk about character. That's what we're going to deal with today. And the narrator for part 1 is a person called Bobby Calhoun. Now, I keep in Scrivener, I keep a blank profile, and I just downloaded this from the internet. I got it. I did a Google search, looked for character profiles, and downloaded one that I thought was very thorough, more thorough than I actually needed, and I just fill out the parts I need. But here's the blank one, and it just goes on. It's actually, I think, also used for writing fantasy and science fiction because it has a lot of things about combat and species and things like that. But anyway, let's get straight to it with Bobby Calhoun. Now, starting from the top, his name, Bobby Calhoun. He was named after his uncle Robert. He's male. There's his birth date, November 14th, 1986. His real name. Where was he born? Greenville, Mississippi. This actually is fairly important to him. As you'll see, Mississippi tends to affect your character, either good or bad. Uh, how was he born? C-section. His first words, bit of a joke on my part, the word more. He wants more. Uh, and will all of this information make it into the story? Probably not, but I hope a good bit of it does. Well, he hasn't died yet, so we don't have any last words or anything like that. Uh, he's right-handed. He's a Scorpio, although that doesn't really matter because astrology is stupid and doesn't mean anything anyway. Catchphrase, or actually a phrase that he repeats a lot, which is, okay, okay, let me see if I understand this. Bobby's been through the management courses in university and particularly communication courses, so he wants to repeat and get confirmation that what you have told him, that he understands it, and how does he do that? By telling it back to you in his own words to get confirmation that he understood it. Okay, license plate number. My joke as I was going by here, 11FU94. His appearance, he's 6 foot tall. He weighs 195 pounds. He's white. I thought about making him mixed race, but that's pretty hard to write as the main character. And I'm not sure I can presume to write a mixed race or a African American or any minority very well because I'm white dude. You know, I could try, but it would probably come off pretty poorly, and it would take me many attempts before I could get anything that would be believable. So his skin color, light brown, because Bobby gets out in the sun a lot. He's got a red birthmark in the shape of a crescent just above his ankle. His hair color is brown. It's modestly long. Uh, Bobby gets away with this. Bobby's a real good-looking guy, someone who you wouldn't think would be as smart, but he could probably get jobs locally in Houston and in the South doing modeling, but he doesn't. But he lets him, even though he stands in front of a camera, he's got long hair, shaggy long hair, and the women viewers just think it's wonderful. They like it. So they let him wear his hair long. He's got green eyes. His eyebrows are brown. His nose is long and slender. And he's always got a nice tan, but his teeth are chemically white, and so they really stand out almost garishly. His face is oval and he's got a strong chin. He gets away with stubble uh, most days. Even though he's in front of the camera, all the ladies go, wow, what a good looking guy. His shirt size is 38, waist size 32, shoe size 11. Okay, here's where you can see fur color right here and these things. This is where I think this form was designed for fantasy and science fiction, which is okay. When I get around to writing it, I'll use it. Definitely. Let's talk about his health and his image. His diet. Bobby's a routine person and a bit of a self-control freak. He eats whatever he wants every other day. On the off days, though, he sticks to an extremely healthy diet of salads and fruit and things like that. He goes to the gym 4 times a day. You can set your watch to it. Fitness, he's very fit, but he's had problems over the past with his knees. He runs very fast. His dexterity is pretty good too. Handicaps, vulnerabilities, no, not too much. He doesn't take any medication. He doesn't have any prosthetics. He's allergic to nuts, though. His wardrobe, well, he has to dress fairly formally at work, suit and tie. So he dresses in blue jeans, t-shirts, and sneakers when he's at home. Uh, he doesn't like jewelry, and he doesn't wear jewelry, not even a watch. He uses his phone instead. Uh, Musical instruments, he plays the piano and the guitar. He plays the piano better than he plays the guitar. He had a pierced ear in high school, even though he has very tiny earlobes. Uh, but he let it close after a while. It was just a matter of you cannot get your ear pierced. Well, yes, I'm going to. He wears a very expensive cologne called Denley Austin cologne that I just made the name up of for, and hopefully I'll be able to put that in the story at some point. He doesn't have any tattoos. I thought about that for a long time and said, no, let's let him opt not. His accent on his voice. Uh, he's worked very, very hard to get rid of his Mississippi, New Orleans type accent, so Bobby wants to sound as Midwestern professional as he possibly can. He don't want to sound like he's from the South. He's got a baritone voice. At, he talks softly as if he's talking to a friend. Even when he's doing it directly into the camera and he's on camera, he's talking to you on the other end of that camera. And uh, that makes him very popular. Uh, some people don't like it at all, though. Now, he laughs real loud and thoroughly, and sometimes when he laughs real loud, he snorts. So, his IQ, 135, real smart guy. Not a genius, but pretty damn smart anyway. He speaks English and Spanish. His vocabulary, he uses it at work, and he has an excellent vocabulary. Uh, but the rest of the time, unless he's around Allison or Monica or at work, he tries to hide his intellect. And when he's around a group of people, he will try to mimic the median for that group, so he doesn't stand out. His memory is excellent for anything that has to do with women. The rest of his memory is normal. Temperament, he tends to be fairly easygoing. Sometimes he can be overly cautious. But please know that this story is about transition, particularly his. His learning style, he learns not by repetition, but by taking things apart. Emotional stability, he considers himself stable, but he might not be as stable as he thinks. You know, I was trying to point out that our self image is not always the true image, and Bobby's as self delusional as the rest of us. His mental health, he's prone to be too cautious and sometimes a little paranoid. His instincts are usually flight rather than fight, but of course, this is a story about transition. The rest of these items I did, excuse me. The rest of these items I did not fill out. Perception, I didn't fill that out either. Philosophy, okay. He doesn't have a religion. Allegiance, none. He used to be a Democrat, but now he's an independent. Uh, he's very politically aware. due to Allison, who's he's romantically linked with, and she's a bit of a lefty, so she makes sure that he knows what's going on. Morality, he tries to do what's right all the time, but you know what? His heart and his mind don't often go in different directions. His etiquette is he's extremely polite to almost everyone. Uh, he his attitude is that he tries to be cautious, but he hates having to be cautious. And what he despises is the acceptable behavior because it's demanded. So he knows the edge of acceptable behavior and he stays a good distance from the edge, but he's kind of over there close to it sometimes. It's just his way of giving the middle finger to the fact that he is required to act within these boundaries. So, his outlook on life, you only live once, so go for it. That's what he'll tell you, but that's not what he does. Uh, his philosophy or his motto, don't die with regrets. Well, that's that's not normally the way he does, but what you'll find in this story is that that's the way he's going. His taboos, he wants nothing to do with gambling. He wants nothing to do with religion. He considers them both to be sophisticated or not sophisticated con games. His virtues, he's fairly honest and fair. Character, what's his primary objective? He'd like to get picked up by the national news. Uh, he would love to be the latest uh, national, the latest Anderson Cooper or someone like that. So, his secondary objective is to sort out his personal life with Allison and Monica. Uh, he's engaged to Monica. He's also sleeping with Allison. Monica thinks that Allison is a lesbian when she's actually bisexual. Uh, he needs to get that sorted out. That's one of his objectives. His self confidence, he seems self confident on the outside, but he isn't really that confident. He's one of these people who practices the idea of fake it until you make it, and he's been faking it for so long that the faking is maybe not as fake anymore. And it's kind of like he's bought his own bullshit. Self control, he's all about self control, except when it comes to heart. He's he's got two women. This is not a good thing. Self esteem, he has fairly good self esteem most of the time, but he can get really insecure about his looks sometimes. And he's a really good looking guy, which is a shame. So, what are his hobbies? He likes gardening of all things, growing vegetables, growing plants, growing roses. His closet hobbies, he would love to go sailing. He wants to be one of those sort of people who makes it, then checks out and leaves and goes spends the rest of his life having fun. He wants to get out of the workforce in his 40s and have enough money not to have to do 9 to 5 slavery anymore. His guilty pleasures, pretty simple stuff: ice cream, weed, porn. Desires, he would really love to have Allison and Monica in bed together. Uh, think that'd be personally, I think that'd be a mistake. He might lose both of them when he asked. Traumas, let's talk about the good stuff. When he was a kid, he was beaten up several times in school by the same kid, you know, who picked him. And you're it, and I'm going to beat the hell out of you a lot. Until he finally responded, and when he did, long fuse, very bad when it went off, he put the kid in the hospital. So what's he worry about? Well, Bobby worries about money and his career. Instigators, when he gets fed up with something, he won't stop until it's either fixed or destroyed. He will just, it's what the British call bloody mindedness. You just grit your teeth and you just keep going. He does that. He can be soothing to his close friends, but not to anybody else. Things he sucks at: tennis. He tried it for a couple of weeks, just horrible at it. His soft spots, he likes to watch old Friends episodes, which means I'll never be around him when the TV's on. cruel streak, he can be very cruel when he perceives someone to be a racist. Bobby's from Mississippi. Uh, he's not that way, and he despises it when he sees racism. Accomplishments. Let's talk about something he did that was really stellar. He wrote a novel when he was 17 years old that was considered a teenage classic, and it was actually made into a movie. And Bobby was given a nice chunk of change for writing it with the movie options, and that's how he paid for university. His greatest achievement was that novel. It's called Signal to Noise, the story of Adam Arbuckle. His failures, well, in the state final, he dropped what could have been a winning touchdown pass. Just butterfingered it. His biggest failures, his follow-up novel to Signal to Noise was disastrous. The critics hated it. The public hated it. It didn't sell very well, and he never wrote another book. His favorite dream, his mother's still alive. His worst nightmare, his father is still alive. His earliest memory was falling off the back porch and hitting his head. His fondest memory, the first morning he woke up beside Allison after they spent the night together. His worst memory, being beaten by his father when he was 8 years old. His funniest memory, when his father farted in church. Most prized possession, his collection of Sherlock Holmes stories. His most valuable possession, well, it's actually his stock portfolio. Embarrassments, he doesn't like praise. His mannerisms, he can sometimes come across as a little too smooth for his own good. Humor, he likes all types of humor except racist or racial. Regrets, last time he got in a fight with his father, he wished he'd beaten him up more. His secrets, he doesn't like his job. It's just a means to an end. He'd like to sail away. Uh, Darkest secret, when he was a child, he tried to poison his father, but he spilled it and messed up the amount he gave him, so it just gave him a really bad stomach. Uh, Pet peeves, people who can act superior or snobby, but that's kind of tied in with the racism thing. Let's talk about what he does, his creativity. Music, he writes music and he plays music. He can be generous with people that he likes or if he admires an organization. His honesty, he's almost always honest, except with some big exceptions like G. He's sleeping with Allison. He's loyal to a fault. His insecurities, he thinks his hair is thinning, but it's not. He thinks his teeth aren't straight enough for network television, but they are. Patience, he doesn't have any patience. Predictability, he's got to work really hard not to be completely predictable. It's his natural tendency. Routine, routine, routine. Reliability, Allison has pretty much taught him that his word is his contract, and he believes that, so he is completely reliable. Respect, he gives what he expects, which isn't very much, actually. He's always polite, and people think that is respect, but it's not. He doesn't really give a lot of respect. He's just polite, and dumb people make that mistake. He's very trustworthy. Okay, let's talk about the common elements. Well, usual curse words. Like most Americans, he'll use the C word only when he's extremely upset. Farewells, he says AMF all the time. And the A stands for adios, and MF, you know what that stands for. His greetings, he says howdy or hello. Howdy's real popular in Texas. Moods are fairly good, even keeled. His preferences, interesting. He likes to be around women more than men. Is that because he's slightly effeminate? Possibly. Uh, Things he dislikes. Absolutely despises racists and can't stand to be around overtly religious people. Combat. Oh, this is where fantasy and that sort of stuff came in, but nothing special. But he moves fast. He runs real fast, has real fast reflexes. Let's talk about homework and education. Where's he live? Garden Oaks in Houston. It's just outside the 610 Loop, fairly close to downtown. Where was he born? Greenville, Mississippi. He's a U.S. citizen. They moved to New Orleans when he was young, so uh, he's very Southern boy. Uh, Routines. He wakes up at 6 a.m. every morning. He's at the gym at 6:30, and he's at the office at 8 o'clock. Uh, he falls asleep really quickly every night. He has a cat named Garbo that's scared of her own shadow. Who's he work for? WHYH, Houston's family first television station that was recently purchased by the largest mega church in the city of Houston. So they haven't started axing or making their changes to and putting their own people in charge. It's only been recent, in the last couple of weeks. He's a field reporter. He's been in camera. He's been in front of the camera for 4 years after writing for 2 years at the news desk. And he got the job simply because the hiring manager really loved his book that he wrote when he was a teenager. Community service, Allison gets him to go spend Thanksgiving and Christmas working in a homeless shelter, feeding people. His supervisor's name is Ben Harrison. Work, he's on salary, luckily for the station, because he's in the news. So it works from 8 o'clock in the morning every day until it's ready and done. So if he was getting overtime, he'd have a hell of a lot more money. Work ethic. Bobby's one of these people who's smart enough to work really hard when he has to, but he also knows when he can get away with fucking off, when he can put his feet up. Transportation. What's he drive? Bobby drives an old Z4 BMW convertible, one of the early years of it. Uh, he could afford a new one, but this one has low mileage. It's in great shape, and he's too cheap. Criminal record. He doesn't have one. Although when he was in high school, he had a bag of weed in his pocket. So he's the one who had to run off into the woods away from the cops. And because he can run fast, didn't get caught. What's his salary? About $85,000 a year. His net worth over 200,000. You know what though? Let's make Bobby a bit more of a go-getter and make that 400,000. His budget, he's careful about his budget. He only owes less than 88,000 on his mortgage. He has 12,000 in cash in the savings account. Well, any big splurges? Summer he got his MBA. He went to Europe all summer. Where'd he go to school? Cabrini Catholic School in New Orleans. Dutch Morial used to be the mayor of New Orleans, so Morial Middle School. And then I made up a name, Brooks High School. Where'd he go to college? Tulane University, then University of Houston for his MBA. I went to University of New Orleans and then University of Houston. So he had more money for college than I did. Uh, Graduating years 2007, 2009. His study habits were pretty good. They were regular, they were daily. He would study 2 hours every day. Whether he needed more or less, he would stick with 2 hours. His GPA was 3.5. It could have easily been higher, but Bobby doesn't want to stick out. Uh, Degrees, Bachelor of Arts, MBA. Social, his mother was Lisa Calhoun, his father was Reggie Calhoun. Closest relative is a cousin, Michael Ardell. His best friends are Martin Arklin, who's a lawyer, and Michael Longtree, who's in prison for growing weed. His close friend, though, at work is Perry Addison. Perry Addison is a field reporter for a competing news station whose father owns that station and 7 or 8 others in the tri-state area. And he gave his blow-dried, good-looking son, Perry Addison, a job at it, and Perry likes being in front of the camera. He's a bit of a narcissist. And Perry and Bobby smoke weed together whenever they can. So, Bobby also has over 22,000 people following him on Twitter. He, Bobby doesn't really do enemies because no one is important enough to hate. Uh, he just becomes apathetic towards him. So, the rest of this stuff, let's go to romance. Oh, yep, there's still romance. His first love was Allison. His love interest is Allison and Monica. He's engaged to Monica, but he's sleeping with both of them. He's straight, although he's slightly effeminate, and he loves to watch lesbian porn. Flirtatious, he can be shy, looking out from underneath his hair, kind of looking up at the girl, and it's kind of cute when he does that. Turn ons, He likes a nice round backside. It doesn't have to be huge, just nicely curved. Turnoffs, not ignorance, but stupidity. Virginity. He lost his virginity with Allison when they were both 15 after quite a long time of sexual experimentation, blowjobs, hand jobs, you name it. They did it all together, and they waited until they were 15 years old. So the rest of this stuff I really don't think is relevant to the story I'm writing. So that's as much as I've filled out. Will I use all of it? Probably not. I'll use a lot, and I'll have to use a lot after I finish the section and go back and stick in some of these details. Now, that is the character profile for Bobby Calhoun. Next, we're going to start going through all of the scenes that make up part one, where Bobby is the narrator. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, give it a thumbs up. If you really like it, why don't you subscribe or just come back for the next one. And if you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. Leave a comment if you thought it was good. Leave a comment if you thought it was sucked, because my objective is to become a better writer out of it. So hey, if I screwed something up, let me know. I'll fix it if I agree. Anyway, thanks a lot. Have a good day. See you next time. Bye.